Operations with rational expressions, and this is extra practice. So I want you to make sure that you've gone through the other notes, gone through the steps, and try these out on your own and come back to these to check your answers. So make sure you're doing these on your own. It's really important that you are actually working on these, doing examples, doing them yourself, and then you can check these over once you've completed them. So we want to always factor because we need to know the multiplying pieces of these rational expressions. So the two numbers that multiply to positive 6 and add to negative 5 are going to be negative 3, negative 2. The two numbers that multiply to positive 15 and add to negative 8 are going to be negative 3, negative 5. Okay, so for essentially all the operations, we really do need to know what all the factor parts are for these rational expressions. So here we want to get a lowest common denominator. So the lowest common denominator is going to be made up of all the parts that this fraction has that this one doesn't, and vice versa. So here we're missing an x minus 2. So we have to balance the fraction and multiply the top and bottom. Here we're missing an x minus 5 factor. So we have to balance the fraction. So we have to do top and bottom. Again, this idea of balance is a central property of math, and we need to make sure that we're never breaking these really important rules of math. So lowest common denominator ends up being x minus 2, x minus 3, x minus 5. So then now, since we have a common denominator, we can multiply out these brackets and combine like terms. So we get 2x minus 10 plus 3 times x, 3 times negative 2, okay, and then our lowest common denominator, and then we can combine our like terms. So here we have 5x minus 16 over x minus 2, x minus 3, x minus 5. This isn't factorable. There aren't any common factors that we can simplify, so we're finished. Well, we're not quite finished because we forgot to state our domain restrictions again. So here, once we have our denominators, we cannot divide by 0, so x cannot be equal to 2, 3, and 5. Okay, so we have to remember to state our restrictions, although it didn't ask us to state our restrictions, but we should always be aware of restrictions. So again, we want to factor. We need to know the multiplying pieces involved here. So we have 3x, and please do not do things like this where we have 3x and 3x canceling out. Okay, do not cancel out. Okay, one is a factor, the 3x in the numerator is a factor, this 3x is not a factor. So two numbers that multiply to negative 40 are going to be negative 8 and have a difference of 3 is positive 5. So here we have x plus 5 squared, or x plus 5 times x plus 5. Okay, we'll do our restrictions first so we don't forget. So x is not equal to 8 and negative 5. Now, if there are common factors that simplify, once we state our restrictions, we can start canceling things out. Okay, nothing cancels out here, so we want to go ahead and find our lowest common denominator. So here we're missing a factor of x minus 8. On this side, we need an extra factor. Better not. We need to make sure we do the numerator as well. Here we're missing an extra factor of x plus 5 because there's 2 of them here. We need 2 here. So we have our x plus 5 up top as well. Multiplying through, we end up with 3x squared plus 15x minus, and be careful with that minus. I'm just going to highlight that minus because we need to make sure that everything after this minus is subtracted. Okay, so distributing this out, we end up with x squared minus 10x plus 16. Okay, that's not how it's going to show up when I do the minus. So again, be very careful of that minus. So I'm going to write this out as x plus 5 squared x minus 8. Okay, so then I can distribute that negative and combine like terms. So I'm going to end up with 2x squared. We're going to have minus minus 10, so plus 25x minus 16. Okay, and that's all over x plus 5 squared x minus 8. Okay, and this is not factorable because there's no numbers that multiply to 32 and have a difference of 25.